The communications room fell silent when the message stopped. Captain's face froze on the screen, his eyes wide with fear. Behind him, fires burned across the colony dome. Then the screen went black. "Replay it," Admiral One said. Her voice was steady, but her hands gripped the armrest of her command chair until her knuckles turned white. The technician's fingers shook as he pressed the controls. The message played again. His voice came through the speakers, broken by static and distant explosions. "This is Colony Shinsol. We are under attack. They came without warning. Council ships. They're not taking prisoners. They're killing everyone. Women, children, everyone." A massive explosion shook the camera, fell but pulled himself back up. Blood ran down his face. "Tell Earth. Tell them this wasn't an accident. I'm uploading the surveillance files now. The Empire gave the orders. They wanted to send a message. They wanted to." The transmission cut off. The silence in the room felt heavy, like a physical weight pressing down on everyone. "How long ago?" one asked. 3 days, ma'am. The patrol ship just found them." 3 days. One closed her eyes. Her younger brother lived on Shinsol. He moved there 5 years ago with his wife and 2 children. She tried to push the thought away. She had a job to do. "What did they find?" The technician looked at the floor. 47,000 dead, ma'am. No survivors. The colony is intact. The buildings are fine, but every person is gone. One stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak. "Show me the surveillance files." "Admiral, maybe you should." "Show me." The screen filled with images that would haunt one for the rest of her life. Council enforcers, wearing the purple and gold armor of the Empire, moved through the colony streets. They went door to door. Systematic, organized, efficient. They pulled people from their homes and executed them in the streets. When some colonists tried to fight back, the enforcers burned entire buildings. One watched it all. She made herself watch every minute. When her brother appeared on screen, running with his daughter in his arms, she didn't look away. When the enforcer's weapon fired, she didn't look away. She owed him that much. She owed all 47,000 that much. "Send everything to Earth Command," she said. "Then prepare the fleet. We're returning home." Across the galaxy in the grand chamber of the Council, 7 species sat in their designated seats. The ambassador, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, stood at the center podium. "The incident at the human colony was unfortunate," he said. His translator rendered his words in flat, emotionless tones. "Rogue elements within our security forces acted without authorization. The Empire offers formal apology and compensation." Ambassador sat in the human delegation area. He had represented Earth on the Council for 12 years. He had built friendships here. He had negotiated treaties and trade agreements. He believed in peaceful cooperation between species. But now, looking at the ambassador, he saw something different in those alien eyes. Not regret, not shame, something closer to satisfaction. "Rogue elements," stood up. "Your surveillance footage shows Council authorization codes. Your own records show the attack was planned for 6 months." "That evidence is disputed," the ambassador said smoothly. "We will conduct a thorough investigation. In the meantime, we expect Earth to accept our apology and move forward. The alternative would be unfortunate for everyone." The other Council members shifted in their seats. No one spoke. No one defended humanity. They had all voted to accept the explanation before even entered the chamber. Looked at each of them. The delegate who he had shared meals with. The representative who had praised human art and music. The observer who remained as mysterious as always. None would meet his eyes. "I see," said quietly. "I will relay your message to my government." He walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the ambassador's laughter echoed through the halls. On Earth, President Ah stood before the emergency session of the Global Assembly. She was young for a president, only 42 years old. Many had said she was too young, too idealistic, too focused on expansion rather than diplomacy. Now, as she looked at the assembled representatives, she felt ancient. They killed 47,000 of our people, she said. They did it to send a message, to show us our place, to remind us that we are new to the galaxy and we should remember that. The chamber erupted in angry shouts. Representatives called for war, others urged restraint, some wept openly. Ah raised her hand. The room fell silent. The council has given us their answer, an apology, money, a promise to investigate. They expect us to accept this. They expect us to move on. They expect us to forgive. She paused and looked directly at the cameras broadcasting her words to every human colony, every ship, every station in human space. But we have our own message to send, to the Council, to the Empire, to every species in this galaxy that thinks humanity is weak because we prefer peace. Her voice grew harder, colder. No more forgiveness, no more excuses, no more mercy. They wanted to teach us fear. Instead, they will learn what humans become when you murder our children. She pressed a button on her podium. I am activating Protocol Typhoon. All ambassadors are recalled. All diplomatic channels are closed. And to those who committed this atrocity, we are coming. The broadcast ended. Across human space, people watched their president's face fade from their screens. Some cheered, some cried, some prayed. In the military command center, deep beneath the surface of Earth, ancient computers came to life. Protocol Typhoon had been written 50 years ago, after the first contact with alien species. It was humanity's contingency plan, the option no one wanted to use, the last resort. Admiral 1 received the orders on her flagship. She read them twice to make sure she understood. Then she opened the secure channel to her fleet commanders. All ships, full mobilization, return to Earth. Protocol Typhoon is active. Her second officer looked confused. Ma'am, what is Protocol Typhoon? One pulled up the classified files. As she read through them, her eyes widened. The project names appeared on her screen. Prometheus, Ghost Brigade, Silence Field, weapons and technologies that had been developed in secret for decades, power that could reshape the galaxy. It's what happens, one said slowly, when humanity stops playing nice. Across the stars, the Empire celebrated. They had put the humans in their place. The other young species would see what happened when someone challenged the Council. Order would be maintained. But in the deep black of space, human ships began to move. Not toward the Council, not toward any known destination. They simply vanished from all tracking systems, like ghosts dissolving into darkness. They would not understand their mistake until it was too late. They had poked a sleeping bear. Now they would learn why humans had survived everything their home world had thrown at them. They would learn why humans had climbed from the caves to the stars. They would learn that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or intelligence or determination. It was the ability to remember. And humanity would never forget Shinsol. 6 weeks passed since President Ah's declaration. The galaxy watched and waited for Earth's response, but nothing happened. No war declarations, no military threats. Human ships continued to dock at alien stations. Human traders still sold their goods. Human diplomats remained polite when encountered in neutral space. The silence was worse than any threat. In a secret facility orbiting Jupiter's moon Europa, Commander Min briefed his team. The Ghost Brigade consisted of 200 soldiers who officially didn't exist. Their missions never appeared in any records. Their successes were never celebrated. Their failures were never mourned. We move in 3 days, Min said. He pointed to the holographic display showing the home system. Primary target, council chambers. Secondary targets, military command centers. We go in, extract the command staff, and get out before anyone knows we were there. A young soldier raised his hand. Commander, aren't we supposed to be at war with them? We're not at war with anyone, Min said. War requires declarations, treaties, rules. We're doing something else." "What's that, sir?" Min's smile was cold. "Justice." Deep in the research station hidden in the asteroid belt, Dr. Bai walked through rows of weapons that should not exist. She had spent 15 years developing the Prometheus project in secret. The government had given her unlimited resources and one simple instruction: make humanity unstoppable. She had succeeded beyond anyone's imagination. "The Star Harvesters are ready," her assistant said. "We can equip the entire fleet within 2 weeks." Bai looked at the massive devices. They could pull energy directly from stars and channel it into weapons of devastating power. A single ship equipped with Prometheus technology could destroy a fleet. A fleet equipped with it could crack planets. "What about the silence field?" she asked. "Tested and ready. Once activated, no communications can escape a star system. No messages, no signals, nothing." Bai nodded slowly. She had created these weapons to protect humanity, but she worried about what they might turn humanity into. Power changed people. She had seen it happen in laboratories. She feared what it would do to an entire species. "Deploy everything," she said, "and pray we never become what we're fighting against." On a transport ship heading toward Earth's military academy, Yang stared out the window at the stars. 3 months ago, he had been a civilian, a teacher. He believed in peace and dialogue. He argued against military spending. He thought violence was never the answer. Then Shin Seoul was destroyed. His sister lived there. She taught music to children. She sent him pictures every week of her students performing. The last picture showed a little girl holding a violin, smiling at the camera. That girl was dead now. His sister was dead. 47,000 people were dead. Yang had volunteered for military service the day after the massacre. He was 38 years old, far older than most recruits, but the military accepted everyone now. They needed bodies. They needed soldiers. They needed people willing to fight. "First time in space?" the soldier next to him asked. "No," Yang said. "I used to visit my sister's colony." The soldier went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant now. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry," Yang said. "Just teach me how to fight." In the grand halls of the Empire, the Council of Elders gathered. They ruled over 300 worlds and billions of beings. For 400 years, they had maintained order in their region of space. They had crushed rebellions. They had destroyed entire species who refused to submit. "The humans remain quiet," the eldest council member said. 6 weeks and no response beyond recalled ambassadors. "Perhaps they are smarter than we thought," another suggested. "They know they cannot win." "Or perhaps they are preparing," a third council member warned. "Our intelligence reports strange activity in human space, ships disappearing, energy signatures we cannot identify." The eldest council member waved a dismissive hand. "Let them prepare. Let them build whatever weapons they think will save them. When they attack, we will crush them as we crush the others. The galaxy will remember that the Empire does not tolerate challenges. And if they have developed something unexpected, then we will adapt, we always have." But in the dark corners of the Empire and the places where information was bought and sold, whispers spread. Human ships had been seen near the edge of space, not military vessels, survey ships, mapping ships. They would arrive, scan a system, and leave. They never engaged, they never communicated, they just watched. It reminded old traders of predators circling prey. Admiral One stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Indomitable. Around her, the Third Fleet prepared for operations. Every ship had been upgraded with Prometheus technology. The weapons made her uncomfortable. They felt wrong, too powerful, too destructive. But they were necessary. "Admiral, Fleets 5 through 9 report ready," her tactical officer said. "And the Ghost Brigade?" "Commander Min reports his teams are in position." One looked at the star map. Red markers showed military installations. Blue markers showed civilian populations. The plan was precise, surgical. They would destroy every military target and leave everything else untouched. No civilian casualties, no planetary bombardment, just the complete elimination of the military capability. It would take 48 hours. Send the final authorization codes, she said, and someone get Ambassador on the line. Sat in his quarters on Earth. He had spent 12 years building relationships with alien species. He believed in cooperation, in understanding, in finding common ground. The massacre had shattered those beliefs like glass. When one's face appeared on his screen, he knew what was coming. Ambassador, we're moving in 6 hours. You asked to send a final message to your contacts in the Council. Nodded. He had written the message 3 weeks ago. He had rewritten it 100 times, trying to find words that captured what he felt, what humanity felt. Send this to every council member I worked with, he said. Tell them you should have kept your peace. One smiled grimly. That's it. That's enough. The transmission went out to 14 different council members across 7 species. Most would ignore it. A few would understand. 1 or 2 might even try to warn others. But it was too late for warnings. The human fleets engaged their new drives. Space bent around them in ways physics said was impossible. The Prometheus project had solved faster-than-light travel, solved energy generation, solved weapons technology that aliens had considered theoretical. Humanity had been busy during those 6 weeks of silence. As the fleets vanished from normal space, leaving only faint energy signatures, the Council finally understood something was wrong. They sent urgent messages to all their military installations. They raised alert levels. They called emergency sessions. But the messages sent to space never received replies. The communications channels went dead one by one. The silence fields had activated. 7 entire star systems were cut off from the rest of the galaxy. In the council chambers, panic spread. The delegate tried desperately to contact human representatives. The military commanders called for immediate mobilization. They simply closed their borders and retreated into isolation. The ambassador stood alone in the empty chamber. For the first time in his long life he felt fear, not fear of death, not fear of defeat, fear of the unknown. The humans had vanished. Their fleets were gone. Their ambassadors were silent. It was as if humanity had simply erased itself from the galaxy. But in that silence, in that absence, a terrible truth became clear. Humanity hadn't disappeared. They had stopped talking because talking was done. The time for words had ended. Now came the reckoning. In the home system, orbital defense platforms suddenly detected massive energy signatures emerging from jump points. Alarms screamed. Commanders shouted orders. Weapons charged. But they were too slow. They had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that had spent 6 weeks preparing in perfect silence. An enemy that had weaponized stars. The Prometheus weapons fired, and the night sky over the home world lit up brighter than day. The defense fleet never stood a chance. Admiral One watched from the Indomitable's bridge as the battle unfolded. The word battle wasn't quite right. Battles required 2 sides fighting. This was an execution, precise, methodical, overwhelming. The Prometheus weapons tore through shields like they weren't there. Energy pulled from the system's star itself flowed through human ships and erupted as beams of pure destruction. Warships exploded silently in the vacuum of space. Their weapons couldn't penetrate human shields. Their missiles dissolved before reaching targets. Their fighters were swatted from space like insects. In 48 hours, the Empire lost everything. Every military station, every defense platform, every warship, every weapons facility. 7 star systems were stripped of all military capability while civilian populations watched in horror from their homes below. Not a single civilian structure was touched. Not one non-military ship destroyed. The precision was terrifying in its perfection. "Ma'am, Ghost Brigade reports success," the communications officer said. "They have the council members." One nodded. "Tell Commander Min to bring them to the Indomitable. It's time for the galaxy to see justice." On the home world, Min and his team moved through the council building like shadows. The Ghost Brigade had infiltrated the planet 3 days before the attack began. They had waited, watched, memorized patrol patterns and security protocols. When the orbital strike started, they moved. The council members had retreated to their secure bunker, confident in walls that could withstand nuclear strikes. But the Ghost Brigade didn't use bombs. They used something simpler. They cut the power. They flooded the bunker with sleeping gas. They opened the sealed doors like unwrapping a gift. 12 leaders lay unconscious on the floor. "Are these really the ones?" a young soldier asked, looking at the gray-skinned aliens. They looked so ordinary, so small. "According to their own records, yes," Min said. "These 12 ordered the massacre, put them in the transport, carefully. We want them alive and healthy for what comes next." Light years away, Na sat at her communications station aboard the escort carrier Resolute. She had joined the military 5 years ago as a way to see the stars. She loved languages. She loved learning about alien cultures. She had dreamed of being a bridge between humanity and the galaxy. Now she transmitted the trial to billions of beings across dozens of worlds. "All channels are open, Captain," she reported. "Every major network in the Council space is receiving our broadcast." She felt sick, not because of what humanity was doing, because she understood why it was necessary, and that understanding felt like losing something precious. The trial took place in the main hangar of the Indomitable. No fancy courtroom, no elaborate staging, just a simple platform, cameras, and the 12 leaders standing in prisoner restraints. Admiral 1 served as judge. She had requested someone else do it, but President Ah insisted. "You have earned this right," the president had said. "Your brother earned this right." One stood before the prisoners. Behind her, a massive screen displayed the surveillance footage from Shin Seoul. The massacre played on repeat. Every death, every murder, every child gunned down in the streets. "You are accused of ordering the deaths of 47,000 human colonists," one said. Her voice echoed through the hangar and across the galaxy. "How do you plead?" The eldest council leader Vexnor raised his head. Even defeated, even captured, he maintained his arrogance. "We acted within our rights. The council has maintained order in this region for centuries. Your species was expanding too quickly, growing too confident. A demonstration was necessary." "A demonstration," one repeated. The words tasted like poison. "You murdered 47,000 people as a demonstration." "We have done so before," Vexnor said calmly. 3 other species required similar lessons. It is how order is maintained." The hangar fell silent. Even this own legal representative looked shocked. Nu's hands froze over her controls. Across the galaxy, beings watched in horror as Vexnor casually admitted to multiple genocides. "You're confessing?" one asked. "I am explaining. There is a difference. Your species is young. You do not understand how power works. The strong rule, the weak obey. When the weak forget their place, they must be reminded." One pulled up files on her. "According to records captured from your government, you destroyed the species 70 years ago. 19,000 dead. The 40 years ago, 32,000 dead. The 12 years ago, 8,000 dead." Vexnor shrugged. "They all refused to accept council authority. They paid the price." "And you thought we would do the same?" One felt her anger rising. She forced it down. Anger wouldn't serve justice. "You thought humanity would simply accept your authority after you murdered our people." "Eventually, yes, species always do. They rage, they threaten. Then they realize they are outmatched and they submit. Your species would have done the same." You made one mistake, one said softly. What mistake? You assumed we were like you. President Ah's face appeared on the screens throughout the hangar. She broadcast from Earth, her image transmitted alongside the trial. She looked tired, older than her years, but her voice was firm. Vexnor, you said the strong rule and the weak obey. You're right about one thing, the strong do rule, but you've forgotten which species is actually strong. She gestured and the screens changed. They showed the destruction of the fleet, the capture of their systems, the complete dismantling of their military power in just 48 hours. You murdered our children to teach us fear, Ah continued, but you taught us something else. You taught us that mercy is mistaken for weakness, that peace is seen as cowardice, that forgiveness invites more violence. She paused, her eyes hard. We will not make that mistake again. One turned back to the prisoners. This tribunal finds you guilty of crimes against humanity and crimes against sentient life. The sentence is life imprisonment. You will spend the rest of your days in a human facility, watching what happens to species who prey on the innocent. You cannot imprison us, Vexnor said. The Council. The Council no longer exists, Ah interrupted. Not in its current form. You killed it when you murdered those colonists. What comes next is different. The broadcast cut to scenes from across space. Human administrators were already setting up temporary governments. Food and medical supplies were being distributed. Schools and hospitals were reopening under human protection. The empire is dissolved, Ah announced. Its territory will be held in trust until new governments can be established. Governments that do not murder innocent beings to maintain power. The prisoners began shouting. Guards moved in to remove them, but Vexnor's voice cut through the chaos. You think you've won. The other council species will unite against you. They will destroy you. One looked at him with something close to pity. Let them try. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, species watched in stunned silence. The Empire had ruled for 4 centuries. They had crushed rebellions. They had destroyed civilizations. They had seemed unstoppable. Humanity had dismantled them in 2 days. On the bridge of the Resolute, Nuck closed the communication channels. Her hands shook slightly. Around her, crew members sat in silence. Some looked proud, others looked troubled. All of them looked changed. Communications Officer Nuh, the captain said gently, are you all right? Nuh looked at her reflection in the dark screen. Sir, we just destroyed an empire. We imprisoned their leaders. We took over their territory. We did it all in the name of justice. She met the captain's eyes. But how are we different from them now? The captain had no answer. It was a question that would haunt humanity for years to come. They had won. They had achieved justice for Shin Sol. They had shown the galaxy that humanity could not be pushed around. But in the quiet moments, in the spaces between victory celebrations, the question remained. What had they become? And more frightening, what would they become next? 3 months after the fall of the empire, the council fractured. They were the first to act. They were traders and merchants, a peaceful species who had joined the council for economic benefits. When humanity presented evidence that the leadership knew about these methods but stayed silent, the government immediately opened all their records. We were cowards, the Prime Minister admitted in a public broadcast. We knew what they did. We said nothing because we feared becoming their next target. We share the guilt for Shin Sol. They submitted to human investigation. Within weeks, 12 officials were charged with complicity. They accepted their sentences without protest. In return, humanity offered them a new alliance: protection, fair trade, partnership instead of subjugation. The other species watched and calculated their options. Young Ho governed the former colony world of Praxis 9. He had been a colonial administrator before the war. Now he oversaw a population of 2 million civilians who feared what humanity would do to them. Governor, another protest at the distribution center, his assistant reported. They're afraid we're poisoning their food. Young Ho sighed. Every day brought new challenges. The civilians had been taught that humans were inferior, barbaric. Now those same humans controlled their lives. The cognitive dissonance created fear and anger. I'll go talk to them, he said. Sir, that's not safe. They could. They could what? Kill me. Then they prove themselves as barbaric as their leaders were. They could listen. Then maybe we make progress. Young Ho grabbed his jacket. Fear breeds violence. We either break that cycle or become part of it. At the protest, hundreds of civilians shouted and waved signs. Young Ho walked through the crowd without guards. People fell silent, unsure how to react. He climbed onto a platform and faced them. I know you're afraid, he said simply. Your empire fell, your leaders are imprisoned. Aliens control your world. I would be afraid too. An old woman pushed forward. You will kill us like we killed your colonists. It is the way of power. No, Young Ho said. It's the way of your old government, not ours. We came here to stop the killing, not continue it. The food is safe. The water is clean. The schools are opening next week. We're not your conquerors. We're trying to be your partners. Why should we believe you? Young Ho pulled up his and projected an image, his family, his wife and 2 sons. I lost them at Shin Seoul. My entire family died in the massacre your leaders ordered. I have every reason to hate you, every reason to want revenge. The crowd murmured. Some looked ashamed, others defiant. But revenge won't bring them back, Young Ho continued. And turning you into victims won't make me feel better. The only way forward is to prove that we're different, that humans can be strong without being cruel. The old woman stared at him for a long moment. Then she bowed her head. Others followed. Not submission, something closer to respect, or perhaps the beginning of it. Light years away, and prepared for war. Commander Hae-won analyzed intelligence reports in the military planning center. There were warriors by culture. There were warriors by biology. Both species had proud military traditions spanning centuries. They're massing fleets at the border systems, she reported to Admiral 1. Combined force of about 800 ships. They've issued a joint declaration. Humanity must withdraw from space or face righteous destruction. One studied the tactical displays. 800 ships, it was impressive. Pre-Prometheus technology would have made this fight costly. But now, they're fighting the last war, she said. They think numbers matter. Should we try diplomacy first? We offered, they refused. One pulled up the battle plans. We don't give them a conventional battle. We cut their supply lines, disable their communications, turn their size against them. A big fleet needs big logistics. The war lasted 6 months. The Yin fought bravely. Their warriors died with honor, following traditions that went back thousands of years. But honor and tradition couldn't compete with weapons that harvested stars. Humanity didn't occupy territory, didn't hold positions, didn't follow any conventional military doctrine. They appeared, struck, and vanished. Supply convoys disappeared. Communication networks failed. Command ships were disabled but not destroyed. The Yin fleet slowly fell apart, not from battle losses but from logistics collapse. Warriors found themselves stranded without fuel, without ammunition, without orders. Sung served as a Marine aboard the assault carrier Tempest. He had lost his wife and both daughters at Shin Seoul. He had joined the military for revenge. He wanted to kill those responsible. He wanted them to hurt as much as he hurt. But after 6 months of war, revenge felt hollow. Target disabled, sir, he reported after another successful boarding action. Enemy crew surrendering. The commander was young, barely more than a child by their species standards. He looked at Sung with confusion. Why do you not kill us? We would kill you. That's why you lost, Sung said. He wasn't sure when his perspective had changed. Somewhere between the 100th and 1000th battle, somewhere between rage and exhaustion. You think war is about killing. It's not. It's about winning, and we've already won. By the seventh month, in requested terms, not surrender, their pride wouldn't allow that word, but terms. President Oz terms were harsh but not cruel. War criminals would be tried. Reparations would be paid to a victims fund for all species harmed by the Council. Human observers would be stationed in their governments to ensure compliance. You're making them puppet states, an opposition leader argued in the Global Assembly. No, Ah said, I'm making them accountable. There's a difference. They can govern themselves. They can maintain their cultures. They just can't commit genocide without consequences anymore. And who makes us accountable? It was a fair question. Ah had asked it herself many times, who watched the watchers, who judged the judges. We do, she said finally. We hold ourselves to a higher standard. Because the moment we don't, the moment we become like we lose the moral authority that justifies everything we've done. In a research station, Dr. Bai made a discovery that would change everything. She had been monitoring the crews of ships equipped with Prometheus weapons. The data showed troubling patterns. Increased aggression, decreased empathy, slower emotional processing. The weapons that had made humanity unstoppable were also changing them. She called it Prometheus syndrome. How bad is it? Admiral One asked when Bai briefed her privately. In another year, everyone exposed to the weapons will be fundamentally different, Bai said. More violent, less able to feel compassion. The technology is altering brain chemistry. One felt a chill. I've noticed changes in myself. I thought it was just stress, the war. It's not. We built weapons that use star energy, but that energy affects organic tissue too. We didn't realize until too late. Bai's hands shook. Admiral, we won the war, but if we don't stop using these weapons, we'll lose ourselves. One thought about Shin's soul, about her brother, about 47,000 dead. They had fought to protect humanity, to ensure the innocent could live without fear. But what was the point of protecting humanity if humans stopped being human? How many people know about this? Just me and my core research team. Keep it that way for now, one said. I need to think about how to handle this. Across human space, victory celebrations continued. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented. They had brought justice to the galaxy. They had shown that peaceful species could defend themselves, that monsters could be stopped. But in quiet rooms and private moments, people like One and Young Ho and Nai asked themselves the same question. What happens when the monster you're fighting is the one you're becoming? The galaxy waited to see what humanity would do with its new power. Some species hoped for a benevolent protector. Others feared a new empire worse than the. Humanity itself wasn't sure which one they would be. 2 years after the massacre at Shinsol, Earth stood at a crossroads. Admiral One walked through the memorial forest on Terminus 7. 47,000 trees had been planted, one for each victim. They were young still, barely taller than a person. But they would grow. In 100 years, this would be a vast forest where people could walk and remember. She found the tree planted for her brother. A small plaque bore his name and those of his family. One placed her hand on the thin trunk. I kept my promise, she said softly. I made it mean something, but I'm not sure what we became in the process. Behind her, footsteps approached. Commander Min. He looked older now. They all did. The war had aged everyone. The council meeting is in an hour, he said. I know. Are you ready? One turned to face him. Are any of us ready for this? The global assembly chamber was packed. Representatives from every human colony, every military division, every civilian organization. Today's decision would shape humanity's future for generations. President Ah stood at the podium. She had aged dramatically in 2 years. Her hair had gone gray. Lines marked her face. The weight of 47,000 deaths and 2 years of war had taken their toll. "We are here to decide our path forward," she began. "We have won. The Empire is gone. The Council is reformed. Species across the galaxy now look to us for leadership. The question is, what kind of leaders will we be?" A military representative stood. "Madam President, we should maintain our strength, keep the Prometheus weapons active. The galaxy is full of threats. We cannot afford to be weak." Governor Young-ho rose from his seat. "Strength without wisdom is just another form of tyranny. I've spent 2 years governing former worlds. I've seen what happens when power is the only currency that matters. We swore we would be different." "We are different," the military representative shot back. "We use our power to protect, not to oppress." "Do we?" Young-ho pulled up a report. "Last month, a colony requested permission to increase their fleet size for local defense. Why? Because we didn't trust them. We're controlling them through fear, just like the did." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some called for maintaining military dominance. Others demanded a return to diplomatic principles. The debate raged for hours. Finally, Admiral One stood. The room fell silent. Everyone knew her story. Everyone knew what she had lost. "I need to share something," she said. "Dr. Bai, please present your findings." Dr. Bai's face appeared on the screens. She looked nervous but determined. "2 years ago, I created weapons that made us unstoppable. I'm here to tell you those weapons are destroying us." She displayed brain scans and psychological profiles. The data was damning. Soldiers exposed to Prometheus technology showed decreased empathy, increased aggression, impaired emotional processing. "We're becoming what we fought against," Bai said. "Not because we want to, because the weapons themselves are changing us. Every day we use them, we become less human." The chamber fell silent. No arguments, no debates, just horrified realization. "How long?" someone asked. "How long before the changes are permanent?" "We don't know. Maybe they already are for some." One spoke again. "I have Prometheus syndrome. So does Commander Min, so do thousands of soldiers. We can feel ourselves changing, becoming colder, harder, more willing to use violence." She paused. "I almost ordered the bombardment of a city because they were slow to surrender, not because it was necessary, because I wanted to hurt them." She looked around the chamber. "We won the war, but if we continue down this path, we lose everything that made us worth defending in the first place." Yang, now a lieutenant commander, stood. "Admiral, with respect, we can't just disarm. The galaxy is still dangerous. Other threats exist." "I'm not suggesting we disarm," one said. "I'm suggesting we choose carefully what weapons we keep and what price we're willing to pay." President Ah raised her hand. The room quieted. "I've made a decision. It won't be popular with everyone, but it's necessary." She projected a document. "The Terminus Accord, named for the colony where this all began. Here's what it establishes. First, the Prometheus weapons will be decommissioned. The technology will be sealed in secure facilities, accessible only in case of existential threat to humanity." Military representatives began to protest. Ah raised her voice. "Second, Earth will establish a new galactic council, not to rule over other species, but to provide a forum for resolving disputes peacefully. All species will have equal representation." "They'll just form alliances against us," someone shouted. "Probably," Ah agreed. "That's democracy. That's the price of not being an empire." "Third," she continued, "humanity will maintain the strongest military in the galaxy, but we will operate as peacekeepers, not conquerors. Our job is to prevent another Shin Sol, not to build our own empire." Governor Young-ho nodded approvingly. "And if species disagree with us, if they resist our peacekeeping, then we negotiate, we compromise, we find solutions that don't involve massacring colonists." Ah's voice grew firm. "We do the hard work of diplomacy because the alternative is becoming the The vote took 3 days. In the end, the Terminus Accord passed by a narrow margin. Not everyone was happy. Some resigned in protest. Others predicted doom. But the decision was made. Commander Min led the operation to decommission the Prometheus weapons. It took 6 months. Every weapon system was carefully removed. The technology was sealed in facilities protected by biometric locks and armed guards. "Last one," Min said as his team powered down the final star harvester. "Part of me feels safer. Part of me feels naked." "That means you're still human," Dr. Bai said. "Fear is good. It means we haven't lost our sense of vulnerability." On the bridge of what was now a patrol ship rather than a warship, Captain Nuck commanded a crew of 7 different species. A human navigator, an engineer, a reformed tactical officer, even a young communications specialist. "Captain, we're receiving a distress call," they said. "A mining colony under attack by raiders." "All stations battle ready," No ordered. "We respond to all threats in our patrol zone." The young looked nervous. "Captain, without the Prometheus weapons, we might not be strong enough." "Then we'll have to be smart enough," Na said. "That's the difference between us and the old empires. We don't rely on overwhelming force. We use our heads." They arrived at the mining colony to find raiders attempting to steal equipment. Nu's tactical approach was careful, surgical. They disabled the raider ships without destroying them, captured the crews without killing them, returned the stolen equipment to the colony. "The old fleet would have just blown them out of space," the engineer said. "The old fleet would have created martyrs," Na replied. "We create prisoners who face justice. It's slower, it's harder, but it's right." 50 years later, the trees in the memorial forest on Terminus 7 had grown tall. Families from dozens of species picnicked in their shade. Children played tag between the trunks. A museum stood at the forest's edge, teaching new generations about what happened and why it must never happen again. An old woman sat on a bench watching the children play. Admiral One retired for 20 years now. Her hair was white, her face was lined, but her eyes were clear. A young human girl ran up to her. "Are you Admiral One? My teacher said you were a hero." One smiled. "I did what needed to be done, but being a hero means making hard choices even when they hurt." "What's the hardest choice you ever made?" One looked out at the forest, at the children playing, at species that once hated each other now living in peace, giving up the power to destroy everything, choosing to be human instead of being a god. The girl thought about this. Was it worth it? "Look around," one said. "What do you think?" The girl looked at the playing children, the peaceful forest, the families sharing meals. "I think yes." "Then you're wiser than I was at your age." One stood slowly. "Come, let me show you something." She led the girl to her brother's tree. It was massive now, branches spreading wide, leaves rustling in the breeze. "This tree grew from one man's death," one said. "But look what it became. Shade for the living, home for birds, part of something bigger and better." She placed her hand on the bark. "We could have burned the galaxy for revenge. Instead, we planted forests. That's the choice that matters." Above them, ships passed through the sky. Human vessels alongside traders and escorts. A mixed fleet on patrol, protecting a galaxy that had learned the hard way the cost of cruelty. Humanity had sent its message. Not through violence, though they had proven capable of it. Not through domination, though they had the power for it. Through the simple act of choosing something harder and better than revenge. No more forgiveness for those who committed atrocities, but also no more becoming the monsters they fought. Just the difficult, daily work of justice, mercy, and the courage to remain human even when it would be easier to be gods.